Okay, we have a very short agenda, but thank you for joining us tonight here for the Asheville City Council meeting. Please take a moment and silence your cell phones, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's like gonna fall on.
Otherwise, I'm like eating it.
This is our first official council meeting with our new members, Shanika Smith and BJ Kapoor, who are in the tradition of our council, sitting on the very ends. So that's sort of how it works. Everyone's been reshuffled a little bit. Okay, we're going to begin. We don't have any proclamations tonight, so we're going to begin with the consent agenda. The first question I'll ask, and I know we want to talk about item K a little bit, but are there any questions about any other item on the consent agenda? And on item K, would it just be easier if this one through? Do you want to talk about this? I have. Or do you want to have, or should we have Heather come up and give us a little bit of information about it? Heather, could you do that?
Sure.
Okay, this is on item K, a resolution to approve priorities and guiding principles for a request for qualifications for city-owned Cedar Hill property at 411 Deaver View Road and 18 Pisgah View Road for affordable housing.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. I'm Heather Dillashaw, the Community Development Program Director, and this recommendation comes to you from the Housing and Community Development Committee. This is a city-owned parcel that we have owned for several years, that we have, for several iterations of council, wanted to do affordable housing. What's before you tonight is a request to approve guiding principles and priorities for an RFQ in order for this property to move into that process so that we can receive proposals from qualified developers and move that property back into public good with mixed income and mixed housing type development. 16 acres, really great site, lots of interest in that part of the city for this project to move forward. So that's the basics.
Okay, thank you. Good.
So the only thing that I wanted to highlight was we had an in-depth conversation earlier about this, which was that the language in the RFQ doesn't preclude folks from thinking that this doesn't preclude single-family detached homes on these properties. So I don't want anything to insinuate that that may not be relevant on that property.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions about this item or any other item on the agenda, or do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there anyone wishing to comment on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have approved the consent agenda. Thank you. What little crowd we had here tonight is now thinning out as staff leaves. We have one presentation tonight, and that is a water account courtesy calls, and David Melton will be giving us that presentation.
Esther, did we need to flag this, or is it good?
It's
no, okay, that's fine.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I'm David Melton, Interim Director of Water Resources, and I have good news that I'm excited about tonight with this report. The subject matter of this report has to do with utility billing, or more specifically, accounts that have moved into the past due status. To set up a little bit of the framework, when the front-end work is done for the billing purposes and the bills are ready to mail, customers have 20 days in order to keep their bill current. On the 21st day, it goes into the past due status. And on that day, they get a notice by mail that their account is past due. After that portion of time, there's another 15 days that they have to keep their service on and avoid disconnection. The question came from council, is there anything else we can do? And it turns out there is. And customer service division led a collaborative effort with IT, CAPE, and legal and developed the courtesy call program. And what the courtesy call program does is uses Asheville Alert, and within that 15 days, On the 7th day, we send out a notification to customers. It's been very successful so far. We've made roughly just under 9,000 courtesy notifications and have only cut 1,900 services for non-payment. Historically, we've averaged about 1,000 a month. So this represents about between 40 and 50% reduction in disconnections for non-payment. Based on the amount of calls and the cuts that were made, there's like a 78% success rate with this program. Like I said, it's been very successful so far, and we will continue. It's about a 5-month into this program so far, and we'll continue to collect more data so we can see the overall effectiveness of the program.
How many water customers do you have on the system?
Just under 60,000.
And so you're cutting 1,000 customers a month now, with then that being a reduction?
It is. Yeah.
You were cutting 1,000.
We're cutting.
Now that's just a
Before
total
this
of
program
1,900
was-
altogether.
Right before this program was instituted.
Oh, I see, okay.
And this
So
is
it was
over-
1,000 a month, and now it's been 1,900 over a period of 5 months?
5 months, that's
Okay,
correct.
Okay.
That's great.
So it's been
That's
hugely
fabulous.
successful, and some of the other things it's provided is it's provided customer service, the opportunity to actually provide better customer service to our customers. And it's also given them opportunities to work on other projects, such as adjustments and some of the other things we do within the department. For the meter services department, it's allowed them to be more efficient with the work orders that they have. They're able to complete more work orders during the day and keep up with that process better. And it's allowed them to work on other projects too, such as route clearings and different things that they do within the department. So it's my pleasure not to be the bearer of some pretty good news for once.
That's great. Don't normally get to do that.
That's right.
Does anyone have any questions? There's no action on this item, just an update,
Just a report.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what their rate is. You can ask. We have no public hearing scheduled for tonight, and we don't have any unfinished business. We have one item of new business, and that's a resolution establishing an audit committee, and Patricia Rosenberg is here. This is an item we considered already at the governance committee.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Rosenberg, the internal auditor, and I am asking council to pass a resolution to establish an audit committee for the city. It is considered a best practice. The purpose of the audit committee would be to assist a council with oversight of financial and fiduciary responsibilities. And specifically, it would enhance the reliability of financial reporting. It helps monitor the system of internal controls and the compliance with laws, regulations, and the ethics policy. The audit committee would be composed of 5 members, 1 member of council and 4 outside members, and council would appoint the 4 outside members. Are there any questions?
So this was a product of our review, and our being the city's review of its procedures and processes around financial matters, given that that's a very timely conversation right now in our community. And what we found was that we have good practices, but we thought that this structure of an audit committee would be an improvement on what we're doing already. And can you talk a little bit about what someone would do if they find something irregular and they wanted to report it? How would the audit committee work with that information? How would that information come to the audit committee?
There's certainly several avenues to report anything that's considered irregular. If you're an employee of the city, we do have a fraud, waste, and abuse hotline where employees can report anonymously, either, and that's web-based, or there's a telephone number, and that's handled by a third-party administrator. Those reports come to me, the internal auditor, as well as Jade Dundas, the assistant city manager. And we would, any reports that come in, we would take to the audit committee if established. If there are any concerns, they could come directly to the internal auditor. Any reports that I hear would go to audit committee, and you could also go directly to the audit committee. But it just creates more of a direct pipeline between the internal auditor, the external auditors, and council.
Anyone else have any questions?
I do have a question. The council member who would serve on the audit committee, is is the anticipation that that would be somebody who's on the finance committee, like maybe the chair of the finance committee, or does it affirmatively need to be somebody who's not on the finance committee? Sometimes there needs to be a...
It could be either.
Okay.
Are we going to debate who that's supposed to be?
I don't have to. I would say it should be the chair of the committee. I don't think we need to push that today.
I think there was some talk about rules of procedure that once the committee gets set up, they can sort of figure that kind of thing out instead of putting it on the resolution.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else has any questions, I'll need a motion to adopt this resolution.
I move to adopt an audit committee, or form an audit committee.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Brian seconded. I know. Is there anyone wishing to comment on the motion? No? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have concluded our business for tonight, but this is the moment where anyone who wants to address something that was not already on our agenda can do so in 3 minutes, a period of time lasting 3 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to speak? I don't have anyone signed up. Okay, no. With that, we have a closed session, and Shanika is going to give her a try at reading the closed session motion for the very first time.
I move that the City of Asheville, I move that the Asheville City Council go into closed session for the following reasons: to prevent disclosure of information that is privileged and confidential pursuant to laws of North Carolina, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, the law that makes the information privileged and confidential in North Carolina General Statutes 143 through 31810A3. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 31811A1. To consult with an attorney employed by the city about matters with respect to which the attorney-client privilege between the city and its attorney must be preserved, including but not limited to a lawsuit involving following parties: PHG Asheville LLC versus the City of Asheville. The statutory authorization is contained in North Carolina General Statute 143 through 31811A3.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will adjourn from the closed session. All right, it wasn't a record. Almost a record.